Welcome to the Systems Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, Adi Klevit here, the host of this podcast, which is Simplified Systems podcast, where we interview top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about how to systematize a business. And this podcast is brought to you. The sponsor for this podcast is Business Success Consulting Group, where we help you systematize your business by documenting and writing processes and procedures and business management systems. And Owen, did you know that businesses need systems and processes in order to thrive?
No, I did not. Of course I know.
Of course you do. When I introduce you, people will know that of course you do. Yes, so that's what we do here at Business Success. So I encourage everyone to go to bizsuccesscg.com or call us or text us at 503-662-2911. All right, let's get started. So I am very happy to have here our guest, Owen, who is the CEO and co-founder of SweetProcess. And those of you that work with me and know me, you know how much I love SweetProcess. So Owen, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Great. So full name, Owen McGab Enaohwo, and I am the CEO and co-founder of SweetProcess. So where do we start? What SweetProcess does, or you tell me?
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, just a little bit like a one-sentence bio so that our listeners know who you are. And then I'm going to start asking you questions.
Great. So like I said, CEO and co-founder of SweetProcess. Our software basically is a business process management software that makes it easy for you who's listening and your management team, as well as employees on the ground, to be able to, collaborate together and document procedures, processes, and even policies of how you do your work at your company, so that, at any given time, if anybody is looking for how a specific task is done, they just simply log into SweetProcess, find the step-by-step instructions in there, and they go ahead and do their work. Or if it's like onboarding of new employees, they can hit the ground running, because when they come into their role, every procedure with instructions for steps for how to do their work is already in there. And so you can never say, oh, any information is stuck on anybody's head, because you guys essentially have that operating system with how work is done inside of SweetProcess, and that's what SweetProcess does. So we make it very easy for y'all to collaborate together to do this. So that constant improvement is happening in your company as a result of using our software.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about systematizing businesses and how to use software in order to help with that. So that's great. I just want to tell the story about how I found out about SweetProcess. I don't know if you know the story. So
tell me.
Okay, so 4 years ago, that's what we do. Obviously, we systematize businesses. We help them systematize. We help them grow. We help them scale. We write processes and procedures. So about 5 years ago, I was researching for a software that can do that, because up to that point, we were using, the Word documents or Google Drive, or, we were definitely writing those processes and procedures. I mean, I've been doing it for over 25 years, but I wanted something that will take it to the next level. So I actually Googled processes and software for processes and procedures, and SweetProcess came as the number one. And I go, okay, let's do it. It's number one. Let's go for it. So I start using it. I signed up for the demo, and I go like, wow, this is going to elevate the game for myself, for my clients to the next level. Yeah. And I reached out to you. And that's how we start working and collaborating. Many of my clients are using SweetProcess. You send me clients. We work together because I help flesh it out, write the processes, and you have an amazing software. So that's how it all started. It was about 5 years ago via a Google search.
Yeah, and it makes total sense for us to work together, because you do that work of helping them brainstorm and think through, those systems they need in their business. But we don't do that. We just make it easy for you to document it, your systems, once you have thought through it. So that's where the whole consulting thing comes in place, where you as a consultant, you can help them think through stuff, and then you as a consultant need a place for them to have it documented. Well, SweetProcess makes it easy to go and offload all those thinking and all those brainstorming in forms of documents into SweetProcess. So it made the most sense when we had that conversation years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now this is how we got introduced. So now tell us, how did SweetProcess start? What's the background?
Great question. So we officially started in the fourth quarter of 2013. But what happened was I went on quick background. So I used to run an agency where I would provide people in the US here with, staff, right? So basically, this was a Philippine-based agency. And so people here in the US, this was a time when, after people have read the 4-Hour Work Week from Timothy Ferriss or Tim Ferriss or whatever, and, people were like, I want to just hire somebody, and from day one, just, they start doing my work and think it's magic. But the reality is that, in order for someone to actually do your work, even if they're in the same office as you, you are in the same office with them, there needs to be systems in terms of procedures documented, policies documented for how things are done, right? But people don't, know that, because that whole hard, heavy lifting is not even told to them in these books when they read these books, right? And so this was in the heyday, like I said, of Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And so, so I said, let me try to meet this need. And obviously, people will come to me and say, I need, staff to help me with my stuff. But, when they come, thinking people would just jump in right there, it wasn't happening. So I had to, show them that, hey, in order for this to work, we have to take that time. Like I said, it was an investment of time to understand. Let's take the single, task that is requiring the most time, because if we can focus on that one that is giving you the most headache, right? Then once we've solved that one, the other one that is less headache, you're more willing to talk about that. So that's how we started. We look at that task that was the biggest headache for you. We spend that time to document a procedure for how the work is done. And then my team in the Philippines, a member of my team in the Philippines could take over the work and then do it for you. And then before you know it, you've assigned that big bottleneck that is taking the most of your time to, someone in the Philippines through us. They're doing the work. Now you think about the next thing and the next thing. And so how does SweetProcess come out from there? So what happened was I was invited on Mixergy, this podcast by Andrew Warner. It's a very popular podcast. Like, they talk about startups and stuff like that. But I wasn't there to do an interview to talk about my business or anything. I was there to teach a course on how people can systematize their operations and document how work is done, right? So he has the public-facing podcast where he interviews entrepreneurs from tech startups and so that, and then he has the not public-facing course where people who are members of his course, who pay a monthly fee, go and learn a specific topic, right? And so my topic that I was brought on as an expert on was how to document procedures and systematize your operations. And so lo and behold, I did that interview, nervous as heck, because this is Andrew Warner, and all that stuff. So I did it, and my co-founder, Jervis from SweetProcess, by this time SweetProcess had not been created, right? My co-founder Jervis listened to the course and then reached out to me and said, hey, dude, all the way from Australia, mind you, I'm in the US, he's in Australia. So he emailed me and said, hey, I'm working on this idea of building a software that kind of does what you were talking about during the course you did with Andrew, or it will help, document procedures and processes for you. And I was like, dude, hold up. Let's have a conversation. And I'll give you some backstory why I said, hold up, because he was asking for advice on how to build it. And I said, and I give you the backstory is that when I was working my agency trying to help my clients, there were not that many tools that made it easy to document procedures and processes. As a matter of fact, back then, I was hacking together a bunch of different tools that were not even made for what I was trying to do to do this. And then there was also enterprise level tools that were so hard to use that I'm like, if it's hard for me to use this tool, it's not going to be easy for my team to even use this tool. Neither is going to be easy for my client to figure out this tool. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even using this enterprise level tool. So I started hacking together a bunch of different free tools to make it happen. And in back of my mind, I was like, I have to, in order to scale this, I have to figure out a way to build software for this, because there are certain things that needs to be done and done easy and intuitive. And so lo and behold, like moving forward now, fast forwarding, I did that interview. Jervis reached out to me and I was like, dude, not only will I give advice, let's go ahead and build this together because it's something that I actually need. And so that's how we got started. Company was formed and all that stuff. And then immediately I said, dude, instead of us building out this software, let's not just do that. Let's take the time to interview people so that I have my own perspective of what needs to be done, right? But it's limited to, my own experience running this agency, right? So instead of jumping in, because what we were not trying to do was build a bloated software that was hard to use for people. We want to keep this thing, which we know is critical for every business success. We want to keep it as simple and easy to use at all levels, at the management level, the owner level, and even the ground level employee level. So we said, we're not going to build anything. We're going to spend time having conversations with potential customers from different industries, trying to understand the pain. And so I remember I had like over about 50 different calls with different employees, so not employees, but different people from owners of different businesses from different industries, just trying to talk about the pain they were experiencing from trying to scale their operations and how they were having employees know what they need to do and what challenges they were having with that. So after having all those conversations, I said, writing all the different things I was hearing and diving into each point, because they would tell you, I need this to do this, I need to do that. But if you just go based on that, then basically you're building features. I wasn't doing that. I was like, no, why do you need to do that?
Absolutely.
And when they tell me why, I go in a step lower and say why. And so my goal was to try to find out the root problem that they were trying to solve, hence why they were asking for that feature. Because if we could, you might tell me one feature, that person might tell me another feature, that other person might tell me another feature. And if I try to build based on features, then now we have 3 different features, right? But if I try to dig in deeper and go to the underlying problem that we're trying to solve when they suggested that the software needs to have that, then I get to identify root causes that we can then, as the software company, determine, okay, how do we attack these root problems that they were having, right? And so we were able to interview that and came up, talked to a bunch of different people and came up with a bunch of different root things that we wanted to solve for. And we hit the ground running. And, since then, we've built SweetProcess. Now SweetProcess is even being used by government agencies, hospitals, law firms. I mean, some of your clients are banks using SweetProcess, right? So
I think it's all industries. It's medical, banks, construction, retail. It's amazing. And what you mentioned is so true, and I experienced it firsthand. I come to you and say, Owen, we need this, so this feature is not here. Can we look at that? And you are always so receptive, and it's always like it's why are we doing this? Why are we doing it that way, etc. Because it is super important to listen to what the customers need, what the clients need. So I definitely experienced that. And it's very robust. And I have to say, the thing is, when you document the processes, right, you need to have all methods of learning, because some people like to watch a video. Some people, and especially nowadays, when you want to look at something, you watch a video, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Even like when installing this microphone, they don't, instead of saying, they actually have a picture. Yes, and do it this way or don't do it that way, right? It's very picture, like we live in it's very fast. And SweetProcess has the ability to upload videos, pictures, screenshots, attachments. So it's so
all
robust
styles of
because
learning.
it integrates everything. So that's a great story, and it's really a success story. So for those of you that don't know, Owen is actually located in Georgetown, right?
Germantown, Maryland.
Germantown.
Yes. And our
Maryland,
team is actually
right.
a remote team. We've been doing remote before it became like fashionable right now. Everybody, my co-founder, like I said, Australia. So it was me and him. I'm in the US, in Australia. We started, eventually we got members, engineers joining the team, Poland, Brazil. Now we have, writers all the way from Nigeria, my country. And we have people in Kenya writing for us. We have people in marketing. And we want some people in the US too as well. And basically, we've been remote from day one, and that's how we want to be. It's just get different people from different places in the world helping to build this product that we believe impacts all businesses.
Absolutely, it's truly international, and I agree. So and this is it's an inspiring story, because you saw a need and you took the business. Now it's It's expanding, it's growing, it's here for the future, and it's solid, which is definitely very, very inspiring. So what's the future like? Where are we
Well,
going from here?
Well, the future, I feel, is to expand, get more people in the U.S., which is primarily most of our clients are based in the U.S. using it. But I'm more passionate as well as trying to figure out ways in which other people in other countries can also use the software in a very affordable way. So I can't disclose exactly what we're planning to do, but we have ideas on how we're going to do that. Maybe initially we'll focus on some of the English-speaking countries because it's easier to get someone else in an English-speaking country to use your software versus trying to go to a country where they don't speak English and then you have to gather, translate your software. But the goal is to try to, try as much as possible, grab as much market share in the US here, and then also have that goal to expand as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually have a common client that is using SweetProcess, and he's in Vietnam.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I helped him write a processes in English, and then he had one of his staff member translated into Vietnamese. So I've seen it in SweetProcess entered in Vietnamese. It was beautiful. I mean, they have the most beautiful alphabet, and it's all SweetProcess populated in Vietnamese. So it definitely can be done in any language, and it can be done in 2 languages too. I mean, you can have English and Spanish, which is very important to some of my clients, and whatever language it is. So I think it's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So in closing, let's inspire our listeners. So what inspires you?
That's a good question. So for me, I don't think I get this question that often in podcast interviews, but for me, what inspires me is having a stronger call to action. Like basically, it's not just making money. Yes, making money is the first goal, but I have, I think, some idea of the legacy I want to leave behind, right? And SweetProcess is just a way to get there, so that I get to the next step of being able to create the things that I could have a legacy. And to me, legacy is not making money for myself. Legacy is about, through the wealth that you build, impacting people, right? And through you, people get to live their goals and achieve their goals. That is legacy. So I can't go into specific details. I love to go into details, but these are things that
Oh, that's great. And it's totally true. And that's where you're creating the legacy for yourself, but also for others, because I can relate to it. Like when let's say I start working with a company and they don't know about documenting, or they have no documentation or documentation here and there, and then we create a project, and then at the end they have that knowledge that got transferred from their heads, from the hard-won experience, into SweetProcess, into a software documentation, and that stays there, and they now have the certainty that they can continue forward because they know how, their hard-won knowledge is there to stay and to improve upon. I totally understand what you're talking about. So it is inspiring. So we definitely want to inspire our listeners to engage on those processes, on documenting the processes and procedures. And what I'm going to do,
let me do something too, because I'm thinking the listeners, they've heard my story and all that, but at the end of the day, it's what's in it for them, right? So
well, I was going to say, probably we're going to say the same thing, because I was going to say
we might not be saying the same thing. What I wanted to do was actually give a listener some action in which they can take, whether they use SweetProcess or not, because the reality is that you're trying to document how work is done. You're faced with the fact that you don't have as much time in a day. You're also, in this case now, probably working from home given the current situation. So the need to make sure that people are not just sitting down there twiddling their thumbs is more evident. It was evident before, but now it's critical. So how do you then document procedures for how work is done? I would say don't worry about everything just yet. Just let's 80-20. What is that one task that employees, it could be keep asking you over and over again, how do we do this, right? Whether it be new or old employee, but for some reason they keep asking over and over again, and you're like, you want to slap your head saying, gosh, I wish there was a place where they could just literally go and find it, right? That's a way of identifying it, the first task to start. Or it might be like, okay, what is that single task that if we do invest the time to go document how the work is done, and I can get someone else to replace me doing this, I can drive more revenue for this company, right? So that's another way of identifying. So either way, once you've identified the task, now the next thing is to say, okay, how do I document the task. So people might start thinking, oh, let's create an encyclopedia, with all the details filled in. Actually, that's not the place to start. You want to start from version 1.0, which I call minimum viable procedure. And that is just a rough outline that has title of the procedure, in this case, title of the task, and title of each of the steps. No details filled in just yet. So you want to get that skeleton outline. I call it a minimum viable procedure. And then from there, if you're using a tool like SweetProcess, you can then invite your employees who have had experience with this task already, right? Say, hey, I've documented this procedure. Come into this document and let's work together to build out the details. And by build out the details, I mean putting out fleshing out the details, having the be it text, screenshots, videos, whatever, in each of those steps. And now they work with you using a software like SweetProcess to do that. You approve the document, and now over time, as they start doing the task, hey, you have a question, go into SweetProcess. You have a question, go into SweetProcess. Over time, it now becomes a thing in your company where they like, okay, you don't ask the boss any question except you've gone to see it in SweetProcess if it's there or not. And if you go into SweetProcess, it's there, great. Use it. Or if it doesn't work the way you want it to work because there's something wrong, go ahead and try to improve the document, because we allow you to work to improve. So it's a continuous improvement thing. And once you improve a document, your boss gets to see it, likes the improvement, clicks the button to approve it. And if you go and search SweetProcess, the answer is not there, then that becomes an opportunity for a new document to be created. So that's one way of, I just show you how to start the process, of documenting stuff. And then another thing too is like, we also are marrying the ability for you not only to work together to document how the work is done, but to actually do work, right? Because you're not documenting how work is done just for documenting sake. You're documenting because you want to actually do work, right? But we also realize that sometimes some of the insights and the gains you get it while you're doing the work. Right. And so by using SweetProcess for documenting and also doing the work, when they're doing something and they run into something that wasn't accounted for, guess what? As long as they're using the same software, they can pass that intelligence, that feedback, or that whatever thing they noticed back to you. Then you can go into that underlying document on which that task was based on and say, hey, they're on the ground right now. We didn't account for this step, like the pipe busting or whatever. What do they do when they're there? Now you upgrade that underlying document in real time. The task they're working on will be upgraded based on the new information that was passed to you from them when they were doing the work. So if you believe in that whole thing of, the Rome wasn't built in a day, it's a continuous improvement thing, then SweetProcess will really help you and your employees live that culture, that continuous improvement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Great advice. And thank you for giving those tips. So what I was going to say, because I thought you were going to say that, but what we're going to do, because you're too humble to do that, I'm going to do it for you. We are going to actually include a link so people can, because I know before we talked, before the podcast, there is this link that you are very graciously offering the listeners, instead of a 14-day trial, 28-day trial, free trial, so they can actually find out for themselves about SweetProcess. And I will encourage each one of our listeners to click on that link, and it's going to get included. Just if you're watching the video, it's below, and if not, it's going to be on, you're going to see the link there. Sign up and see for yourself and do what Owen said, just follow those steps. Those are very proven steps in terms of start documenting and create the legacy for your business.
And I think the link, I probably have to create it especially for you, sweetprocess.com/ADI. I guess we can make it very easy. So sweetprocess.com/ADI. That would
excellent. Let's do that. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for creating a link under my name for my sake. I never had a link like that, but now I have a link.
Yeah, and so when you come from sign up from that link, you will get that extended trial. Just so you know, when you come to the main website, you will get a 14-day trial. But if you come through Adi's link, you get an extended trial. So why not go through Adi's link?
Let's do that. I love it. And and before we end off here, I definitely would like to give a shout out to Dr. Jeremy Wise, because you from Rise 25, and he's you're working with him, and he interviewed me for a podcast, and I said I would like to have my own podcast, and now I'm interviewing you because of Jeremy. So a shout out to Jeremy. Awesome person. Thank you for introducing me to Jeremy, Owen.
Great. Yeah. So if you have any questions, guys and ladies listening to the call, feel free to, reach out to Addy or reach out to me. And you can reach out to me. My email is very simple, owen@sweetprocess.com.
That's right. And Owen always responds, and his responses are fun and fast, and he likes to say awesome sauce.
Oh, you're giving them all my words, don't you?
All right, Owen. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for our listeners and our viewers, those that are looking at us, are watching this video. So thank you for listening and tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode of Systems Simplified.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Systems Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.